begin my questioning. First of all, I want to ask Sheriff Wayburn to follow up on a couple things you said. Just to clarify, you said that the number of people in prison in Venezuela has dropped 25% over the last couple of years?
That's the intel that we get up from both the DOJ and from our border partners.
You quoted somebody as saying fentanyl, they were okay as long as fentanyl was killing Americans. Who did you quote again on that?
That was a cartel member that we had in custody that we were soliciting information from.
Okay, thank you. Now we head from, by the way, I have been at the border and I talked to the Border Patrol and they tell me, quote, Mexico's not setting their best. I mean, I don't think the Border Patrol is, that's their fact, that's what they tell me. So, okay, now Mr. Cuccinelli, the administration made changes in policy regarding the enforcement of our country's immigration laws, and these changes shield illegal aliens with criminal histories from removal. I want to discuss Secretary Mayorkas' 2021 guidelines for the enforcement of civil immigration law and the 2022 Doyle Memorandum. Mr. Cuccinelli, did the Biden administration actually make it more difficult for immigration officers to remove criminal illegal aliens?
Absolutely and intentionally, and the way to think of those early memos, like the first one there early in 2021, is that they were attempting to tie their own shoelaces together. They literally took steps at ICE and CBP to make it harder for them to achieve their missions structurally.
In fact, the Doyle Memorandum says the existence of criminal history alone, regardless of severity, will not necessarily indicate that a non-citizen presently poses a current public safety threat pursuant to the Secretary's priorities. Mr. Cuccinelli, under that standard, an illegal alien convicted of the most heinous crimes, such as rape or murder, could avoid becoming an enforcement priority, correct?
Absolutely, that was the point.
Is a criminal alien more or less likely to be removed under the Biden administration as compared to the previous administration?
Far less likely, and many of them don't even get to ICE because of the catch and release swamping of CBP.
Okay. In recent months, we've seen Americans killed, sexually assaulted, and burglarized by illegal immigrants. The illegal aliens who committed these crimes should not have been in the country in the first place, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Is it fair to say these crimes should never have happened?
Should never have happened.
Now, your testimony says the Texas Department of Public and Safety data your testimony cites Texas Department of Public Safety data for the proposition that illegal aliens commit violent crimes at a higher rate than the average person. Do you note that the data on crime rates is very limited?
So I do know that it's very limited. I want to clarify, my comments were on the raw numbers, not the rate of crimes committed. I do not believe the rate of crimes is relevant when you've got 6,500 rapes and almost 1,000 homicides. I don't think the rate of crime matters to the victims of those crimes.
Were gangs like MS-13 a problem in Virginia during your tenure as Attorney General?
MS-13 was the single most severe violent crime problem in Virginia during my time as AG, and before and after. Sheriff Chapman could speak to the present day more acutely than I could, but there was no question that in the last 20 years it is the illegal immigrant-based gangs, which do not cover all of Virginia. The Richmond and Norfolk corridor is still what I would call traditional gangs are predominant there, but they are not as violent as the illegal immigrant-based gangs.
Okay. Are foreign gangs active in the interior of the U.S. A violent crime threat?
Absolutely, they're one of the worst violent crime threats, and some of the most vicious behavior. Some of it is quite extreme.
Okay. Is it hard to get data on whether or not, data on the total number of crimes committed by illegal immigrants?
It's very difficult to get that. It is very difficult. I mean, Texas, we're talking about Texas data because they're the only state that has even attempted to track that data for a long period of time. That's also why I noted the Bureau of Justice Statistics analysis of how underreported even those types of crimes are in the first place, to say nothing of the challenge of determining if someone's actually here illegally.
Okay. My ranking member here has told us that people crossing the southern border are committing crimes at a a less rate than the native-born population. Do you care to care to respond to that?
So first of all, I'm using round numbers here, but over 10 million people have crossed the border under President Biden. Over 2 million of them, we have no information about their gotaways, and presumably there was a reason that they weren't running to Border Patrol. They were running from Border Patrol. So when you hear comments about evasions of Border Patrol being down, that's not necessarily a good sign. If they have a reason to run to Border Patrol because they're going to be caught and released without question, as you noted, regardless of the severity of any criminal record that's uncovered, then you're going to see more evasions. We have over 2 million of those folks. It's impossible to determine the rate of crime among a group of people we can't even identify.
Okay, so really, that would be impossible to get that.
It is.
Okay, thank you.